Welcome back to the Team to Beat Miami Heat podcast, your one-stop shop for daily Miami Heat content. My name is Amir. Back with Martel. We are long overdue. Martel has been avoiding me, ghosting me for these Miami Heat Chronicle episodes. So yes, this is a Miami Heat Chronicle episode. We haven't done one, I don't think, all season yet, Martel. So I blame you specifically. No, we just haven't. We just been busy, So we're back. We're gonna, do more of these Chronicle episodes. We did one for Martel's channel, so go check it out. I'm pushing to 2,000 subscribers before we get started. So if you guys are enjoying the content, don't forget to subscribe. Martel just hit 5K. Congrats. He's on his path to 6K. So go to the Miami Heat Zone podcast and subscribe to his channel. So Martel, a lot of noise around Jimmy Butler. That's going to be the biggest conversation around this Miami Heat team. Outside of us being 13-11 and the fifth seed somehow, the East is kind of weak. Yet we're still the fifth seed, which is kind of shocking because 13-11 is not the greatest record. But the Heat have been playing a little bit better, but there's some distractions with the Jimmy Butler noise. So there's 4 teams that he's linked to right now: Houston, Dallas, Golden State, and the Suns. And so there's been a lot of conversations with Shams and Bernie Lee. Basically, Shams is saying that, he's hearing through the grapevine that Jimmy Butler is open to these different destinations. And then Bernie Lee is saying, no, we haven't really talked about any of these teams. So what are your thoughts on that whole situation? Like, and all the noise, like we expected there to be some noise. So what are your thoughts on the whole Shams Bernie Lee thing? And also, do you think Jimmy Butler will be traded by the trade deadline, or do you think he becomes a free agent and we try to figure it out then?
So they're definitely going to hold on to him. Pat Riley was on the OG podcast and he said it that Jimmy, Bam, Tyler, and Terry, they have to figure it out. And I 100% stand by that. There's no way that you're paying all these guys 20 million plus per year and they can't figure out how to win some games. So when it comes down to the whole Jimmy trade thing, I do think some of the rumors are true. I just don't think that Shams and Brian Windhorst, two of the biggest NBA reporters, and newsbreakers, are all lying. Bill Simmons and all of ESPN. I just don't see it. I just think that the Miami Heat are definitely not calling everybody saying, yeah, we want to get rid of Jimmy. I just think that, especially when Shams quotes Bernie Lee over and over and over again, I think that Bernie's been going behind closed doors, talking to different teams, probably talking to different agents, whatever it might be, and it leaked. I think that's really what it was. I don't necessarily think that the Miami Heat are shopping Jimmy Butler because, like I said, they're still being competitive. They still want to win games. And Pat Riley already said it. Just because he doesn't want to necessarily pay him now doesn't necessarily mean he doesn't want to pay him in the future. He just doesn't want to rush and pay Jimmy Butler when he knows Jimmy Butler's pushing 40 years old. And you got to be able to make that great decision in the future. We're not going to rush and just spend money because you want the money. You have to earn the money. And I 110% agree. I'm thankful for everything that Jimmy Butler has done, but we gave him the extension, $150 million after the bubble. We've been great to Jimmy Butler. So in terms of all the rumors and trades, I do think some of it is true, but then some of it is kind of over-exaggerated.
Pushing 40. Get out of here. That's 5 years away. He just turned 35. Come on. There's a big difference there. But it's funny, too, because I'm in the camp of I don't want to trade Jimmy, even though, like, in a long-term business decision, like if I was the Miami Heat, like I probably would trade Jimmy Butler, especially right now while his value is still high. Well, he just showed that he's still capable. And I think the biggest thing for a team to acquire Jimmy Butler would be for his services in the playoffs. He would need to still, kind of load manage and, miss some games so he can rest, so he can be ready for the playoffs. You saw against the Detroit Pistons, he had a triple-double, 35 points, 19 rebounds, which is insane, 10 assists, 6 or 5 steals, 1 block, no turnovers. Like, I know, granted, it was against the crappy Detroit Pistons, but he's still capable. But I don't think the Miami Heat are going to trade him this season. And the fear of him walking away is actually there, but there's also a possibility that, like, if he gets hurt again, or if we don't go far in the playoffs, or if he doesn't play consistent and well, he might just pick up that $52 million because he's not going to get that much on the market. And also, there was a report or an article I read saying that the Miami Heat don't think they're going to get outbid by anybody else because he could get swooped up by the Nets they're the only team that's going to have like 60 million in cap space, but are they going to give that to Jimmy Butler at 35, who's going to be 36 in September, meaning 1 month before the next season starts, right? So they're thinking like, fine, he could uh, opt out, and then maybe we give him a 3-year deal, kind of like we did for Kyle Lowry, 90 million, right? Where it's 30, 30, 30, right? So like, is Jimmy willing to take that? Maybe. Like, he might do that as a service, right? So I don't think they're going to trade him. I don't want to trade Jimmy Butler, but if I was a business, I would. But speaking of trades, trade season's coming up. Once we get closer to February, it's going to run rampant with stars potentially going to different teams, and of course, a lot of role players are going to be available and veterans. And so, one of our veterans, Duncan Robinson, is potentially going to be on the trade block, according to Bobby Marks. And he said that is someone you should look out for because contenders are going to be looking for a 3-point sniper because 3-point shooting is a premium, and that's all NBA teams do now is shoot threes. So, what are your thoughts on Duncan Robinson potentially getting traded? Would you want to trade Duncan Robinson because we know he's in the starting lineup now, and the Miami Heat are 8-3 now with him and Haywood in the starting lineup for the Miami Heat. So, what are your thoughts on Duncan and him possibly being a trade candidate?
Yeah, we can't trade Duncan Robinson right now. I just think that his gravity with his 3-point shooting. I mean, because think about it. Outside of Tyler Hero, who's really shooting threes on this roster like that? So so I just think
Jaime
that.
Jaquez?
Yeah, okay. So like if you take off Duncan Robinson, he's a huge, huge portion of your 3-point shooting, your floor spacing, and just think about it. You really can't leave him open. He's running around. People have to chase him around the court. Maybe if it's a crazy deal, then I'll look into it. But I'm not just going to trade Duncan just to trade him. I know people want to do the whole Vucevic swap, but once again, we need Duncan Robinson's 3-point shooting and we need his floor spacing.
You wouldn't. So that I didn't realize that. I did a video on Vucevic like a week ago in general when they said he was open, or they were open to trade him. I know they were asking for a lot, like as well. And now I think they're realizing again the market says we don't want to pay this guy that much, or we don't want to offer 2 first-round picks and a good player for him. It's nuts, right? So are they saying Duncan for Vuce straight up? Is it a possibility, or like Duncan and something else for him? What does that look
No,
like?
I mean they're not saying that they're going to swap them, but there are reports that we are interested in like Lonzo and Vucevic. So I mean, think about it. If they're going to put Duncan on the trade block, he would probably be involved with that deal. But like I said, I just think that with his game being improved and his 3-point shooting, I just don't want to lose Duncan because you take him off the roster, it's really only Tyler Hero shooting threes.
Yeah, I'm tired of that Lonzo Ball shit. I like Lonzo; he's a good player, but like any player that has been out of the league at any point for 2 years in a row, missing 2 seasons because of injuries, that's Brandon Roy, that's Greg Oden, that's like guys who are cooked. Like Derrick Rose, I don't think he ever missed 2 years, but like obviously Derrick Rose got hurt every other year. It's like, no, we can't afford that. Like we've been one of the most injured teams always, right? So I rather have Vuce, who we could put next to Bam, because then we can mask his defense with Bam Adebayo, Haywood, Jimmy around him, and move Bam to the 4, which is what he prefers. Last question though. So for Duncan though, would you trade him as part of a package for like a Cam Johnson? Because like I know we've talked about this on your channel. That's someone I think I would want on this Miami Heat roster if possible. He is shooting 43% from 3, like on 5 shots, 6 shots, like still pretty good volume, but it's not the same as Duncan, who's going to, put up more 3-pointers. I think Duncan's shooting 38 or so percent, but he's taking more 3-pointers. So what are your thoughts on that? And we'll close.
Yeah, I mean, he's a 6'7" wing that can definitely help this Miami Heat team, and especially how he's younger, can help this Miami Heat team in the future. You definitely have to look at something like that. Once again, it just comes down to the asking price. There's going to be a bunch of NBA teams that are going to be involved with Dorian Finney-Smith. Same thing with Schroeder. Just because he's on the Golden State Warriors, he could still be moved. There's a lot of guys out there that could still be moved. Kyle Kuzma. Cam Johnson, though, I think he would be a solid piece to add to this young core. But once again, what's the asking price?
Might be too much. We'll see. But again, they're trying to gut their roster, so Duncan could be a candidate. He doesn't have a guaranteed contract next year. I think only 10 million of the 19 million is guaranteed next year. So who knows? We'll see. But anyway, that's all we have for this episode of the Miami Heat Chronicles. Again, I'm trying to get to 2,000 subscribers. So if you guys can subscribe to the channel, that would mean a lot. And then also don't forget to go to Martel's channel, the Miami Heat Zone podcast, subscribe to his channel, and check out our episode that we also filmed. Thanks again, Martel.
Thank you. Make sure that you guys hit that subscribe button.